Jonathan Pogash is the cocktail guru, a mixologist and hospitality expert.
See? Yeah. You know big words. Dude, I'm the cocktail guru. Cheers.
Jeffrey's his dad, a wine and spirits author, historian, and consultant.
No, I do my homework.
With decades of experience, they're always looking for the next big thing. Join this father and son duo for a few laughs as they explore the hottest trends in hospitality with the service industry's leading trailblazers and tastemakers. Join us today where Jeffrey expands the conversation with Icons of Wine, a new sub-series featuring the most influential voices in the wine world. Welcome to the Cocktail Guru Show.
I am so pleased to begin this new series within the Cocktail Guru podcast, Icons of Wine, with the legendary co-founder and vintner Erica Crawford from New Zealand. Along with her husband Kim, she launched the Kim Crawford brand in 1996 and sold it in 2003. Since that time, Erica and Kim have been producing outstanding and innovative wines under the Loveblock label. Loveblock is located in Marlborough, including among her wines are Sauvignon Blanc, Pinot Noir, Pinot Gris, Riesling, and Gewürztraminer, which were launched under the Loveblock label in 2014. This interview is particularly relevant to my life, as Sauvignon Blanc was the first wine that I tasted 52 years ago in Paris with my mentor, Stephen Spurrier, the man who was responsible for the Judgment of Paris, the event that unlocked the potential of California wine and made it a household name. It allowed California to explode just because of that one tasting. The second reason, this is a deeply personal interview, because my work representing the wine producers of Alsace was something I did for 16 years, a job that allowed me to taste some fabulous wines made from Riesling, Pinot Gris, Gewürztraminer, and Pinot Noir. And lastly, I had the privilege of representing New Zealand, a New Zealand winery, for about 6 years during my career. So I was able to get to New Zealand, visit the country, and also visit a number of different wineries while I was there. So here we are talking to the legendary Erica Crawford, who will explain what Loveblock wines are all about, and we'll get into some details about the different grape varieties that I have mentioned. And there is a question I would like to answer between the two of us. Is Riesling, as I believe, is Riesling one of the two greatest white wine grape varieties in the world?
Well, it certainly is for me. I think it's well known that it's probably the top of my list, as it is for most other wine people. And I think we really make it for ourselves. It unfortunately has never really caught on in popularity the way we've been saying it would for the last 20 years. But it's the king of grapes.
Yes, I agree. And I was making a list of grape varieties that I tend to love. And Pinot Gris is definitely on that list, but so is Sauvignon Blanc. Sauvignon Blanc and Riesling being two grapes that I think are so wonderful because they are inherently complex. The flavors come from within the grapes themselves, and they don't need extraneous material to make them taste good. That's exactly why I appreciate those two grape varieties.
Yes, and I think with the Loveblock project and our whole approach to organics, we've eliminated more and more and more, and sort of really rely on the quality and the flavors of the terroir that grape gives, because there's not much helping it along,
right,
and making it look big or pretty.
Right. And talking about these grape varieties makes me very thirsty. So I almost forgot that I have this bottle chilling in the refrigerator of Loveblock Sauvignon Blanc.
Perfect for Sunday morning.
It is perfect anytime, Sunday morning, any weather, any season, any food, and I'm going to pour it. just like that. And more importantly, I'm going to taste it. Mm. Mm. This is so good. I've been tasting your Sauvignon Blanc now for couple of years now, and each time it's just absolutely fabulous. And I'm getting
I,
here.
I think one of the things with especially New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc is that, gee, people really want to drink it fresh and fresh off the bottling line. But it's a noble grape and it needs time to develop and show all those beautiful characters that's in there. And it takes time in the bottle. So we're always a bit later with releasing the wine, as you can see.
Exactly. And it's very different from other Sauvignon Blancs, very different from other New Zealand Sauvignon Blancs. But we can especially differentiate between this Sauvignon Blanc and others produced in areas like the Loire Valley or California. This is quite
Yes.
different in style.
Yeah, again, it's organic management, both in the vineyard and the winery, that help us get to this style. Because with organics, obviously in the vineyard we manage it in a specific way, no agrochemicals, no chemical fertilizer, and a whole bunch of other things. So everything is managed biologically, and thus the vines have to compete with weeds and cover crops for water and nutrients, and so their roots go to a different place to get these things, and that also gives us a canopy that's a little bit more open,
Mm.
because we don't put the fertilizer on. So for classic Marlborough Sauvignon Blanc, you require this big green canopy that shades the clusters, and we don't do that. So we really seek to pull back the pyrazines and the green flavors because there's so much of it available in the grapes in New Zealand. And then in the winery, of course, there's a myriad of things that we cannot use. So our list of additives, if you like, is very, very small. And one of those things is sulfites and sulfur. So for organic wine, you've got to stay below 100 parts per million. In other words, less than 100 milligrams per liter. And typically, Loveblock, it's about 70, 75-ish. Whereas ordinarily, with two additions of first sulfur and then sulfites for Marlborough Sauvignon Blanc, it sits at about between 130 and 160, around about. And I believe that it's sulfites that does such a lot for that zippy, um, zippy, joyful, acidic style of Marlborough Sauvignon Blanc, because it just grabs it and takes it through the life of the wine. Whereas here you'll taste the softness, and that, in my firm belief, is caused by the lower sulfites.
Yeah, I'm tasting fruit and I'm tasting a soft quality, much more so than in other
Yeah.
Sauvignon Blancs. There's less of that stony, earthy, flinty character that
Yeah.
that I find so often in Sauvignon Blanc.
You should. I'm hoping today you're tasting you're tasting some peach as well,
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes.
because our little area, our immediate tiny little area, has got that flavor profile, and we're surrounded by big companies, and unfortunately, none of them use that as a single vineyard or a single block or a single release, and so they're missing out on this beautiful peachy flavor.
Absolutely. And I did taste it a couple of days ago when we were together
Correct. Yeah.
tasting. I definitely
Yeah.
tasted the peach, and it's coming through now as well. And you have another Sauvignon Blanc called Tee,
Correct.
and you use green tea tannins as a sort of preservative for that one, do you not?
Yeah, so we've just spoken about the role of sulfites and sulfur and what it does to the flavor profile, and that is softer. And so our next question was really, so if reduced sulfites does this to the wine, the softness, what will happen if we don't add any sulfites at all? Well, we know it will likely oxidize, and no two bottles will not be the same. So there's been a product available from one of our winery suppliers that's used for botrytized grapes, and when grapes botrytize where they rot, they activate enzymes called the lactase enzymes, and this product blocks that through antioxidant activity. So we figured if that happens at that point, and if we add it every single time the wine's exposed to oxygen in the winemaking process, it should protect the wine from oxidation. So we had our first little trial in 2018, and blow me over, it's worked, and I think we've perfected the process now.
Fantastic. And based on my tastings with you, I understand that for you, texture is extremely important in a wine.
Yes, texture, through this lack of lower sulfite levels, you'll note that the aroma of especially Sauvignon Blanc doesn't jump out of the glass. And we get more of a texture, but we also in the winery work on that quite a lot. So a portion of the Sauvignon Blanc grapes are handpicked, and then they're fermented in these big concrete eggs, clay amphora, and neutral oak. So they tend to ferment on their wild ferment, and they take their time with their own process. And even though these things look the same, they're same shape, we've got 12 of these things, every egg tastes different. It's quite amazing. And then the rest is machine harvested and goes into stainless steel, sort of the traditional way to make Marlborough Sauvignon Blanc, where we take a small portion of that and put it through malolactic. So what these things do is to give you more texture. And I think you can really taste it in that wine. You sort of almost get that solid ferment idea.
It's gaining in complexity as it aerates a little bit. And I firmly believe that white wines need aeration just as red wines do.
No, I totally agree with you on that. And, if you look at the vintage of that, that's 23. And and it's not oxidized at all. The other day in Australia, we tasted the 20 vintage, and it just got so complex. So I'm a big, big proponent of some bottle time, especially for Sauvignon Blanc. It's a noble grape. Not only do we need to give it time to develop its own flavors or, show its best side, we also, I think, there's a notion that people believe that Sauvignon Blanc looks like this, Sauvignon Blanc from New Zealand, that it should be big, that it should be, a zippy, crackling, popping aroma, and then a pronounced
in your face.
Yeah, but as I repeatedly say, Sauvignon Blanc is one of the noble grapes, and there's so many sides to it. So I hope that with this tea Sauvignon Blanc, we can show one side of it where the flavors are more ripe mandarin, cumin seed, some beautiful peach, and of course a little bit of herbs, and then again also you tasted the method traditional Sauvignon Blanc that we made. And again, that's showing a completely different side of Sauvignon Blanc, where it was the second ferment and then on lease for 2 years. So you get a lovely flavor development, and because the flavors are a bit bolder, it's a nice structure in the end. I don't know what you thought of that wine when we tasted it the other day.
Oh, I thought it was lovely, beautiful. And you also make a sparkling wine with Sauvignon.
That's the one I'm talking about.
That was absolutely delicious.
Yeah, so that's made in the style that champagne is made in. So 2 fermentations. So the first one is picked at lower Brix, in other words, it's slightly green, and then it ferments to 0 sugar, and then we take it into the second ferment where we add a liqueur, and it sits then and then ferments again. And as the yeast disintegrates, it forms the lees, and that gives us a lovely character that you get on champagne and wines that are made in this fashion. And it certainly takes time and patience.
And your wines are vegan friendly, correct?
Correct.
Organic, and in some cases, from what I can see, biodynamic.
Firstly, let's address biodynamics. Whilst we use quite a few of the principles, and more so, we're not certified for that. We use it in the vineyard particularly, and there's a lot of stuff that we look at this a farm not only as a vineyard, we look at it as a biological whole system as opposed to just a vineyard. So there's a whole lot of activities going on at each of the vineyards, not just growing grapes. And for instance, last week we did the first spray of the season, and that was preparation 500, and the team did that, and the first spray went on. So that's when we take the cow horn that was buried for 6 months and make what we call a tea from that, and that gets sprayed on the vines.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's where the biodynamic element comes into play.
absolutely, yes.
Yes. And you do that for all of your wines, or some of them?
No, it just is on the vineyard. So again, as I say, it's not certified, and we don't do absolutely everything, but we increasingly using more and more of the biodynamic principles to apply to the vineyards. Our main focus, of course, is organics in the vineyard, and the difficulty with organics is different countries have different certification systems. So you're going to certify for the vineyards, the wine, and then the easiest part is the export system. So, for instance, to get full certification for the US, you cannot add any sulfites or any additives. And unfortunately, they view the tannin that we use for the tea as
an
not
additive.
organic anyway. So, but you'll see on the bottles made with organically grown grapes. Hopefully it's there. Sometimes we forget.
Now, I don't want to forget this other wine that I have sitting here in my glass, which I have been aerating for a while now, and that's the Pinot Noir from Central Otago.
Yeah, that was a real interesting little project, and this is something that's really close to Kim's heart. So it's the first time we could plant clones according to flavor profile that we wish to have. So I don't know what you're tasting today. Maybe you can describe it for us, but some of the clones are planted to give you more floral notes, and some of the lighter berries like raspberry and those little red ones. And then there's clone 115, which gives you strawberries and things. And then there's clone 5, which gives you the big crackling black cherry and plum and so forth. And then New Zealand's Able clone, which gives us nice structure. And I think you've got 21 tasting there, aren't you? So
Yes,
you'll
that's
note,
right.
I don't know if you can get it today, but I really picked up the other day. You can pick up the whole bunch flavors.
Oh yeah, very definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so a small portion of
definitely.
that was whole bunch picked and macerated like that.
hmm Yeah, I was going to use a term which makes me think of whole bunch grapes, and that's stem-like quality,
Correct.
that
Correct.
stem
Yeah.
character.
Yeah.
I'm
It's not a
definitely
green. It's not a green flavor.
no, it's not.
It's just a it's almost if you for those people who live in places where you can there's sort of big tall grass, pull it out of its sheath and then chew on the bottom. It's almost
Yeah.
that sort of structure that you get.
Because at the same time, I'm getting that lovely berry fruit too. I'm getting a combination of lighter berry fruit, but also something more in depth, something
Yeah.
more concentrated. in
Yeah,
quality.
and that'll probably pomade with its deeper black flavors of black cherry, as I said, and plums and so on. And it's grown in the area. Central Otago is the biggest area for stone fruit in New Zealand. So
Uh-huh.
well known for apricots, peaches, and so on. So, and of course the plums. So it's quite nice to be able to taste those two next to each other.
And it's a dramatically beautiful area as
Absolutely,
well.
yes.
Right. Yeah.
Yes, yes. And it's quite interesting. We really owe our Pinot Noir success to an Australian viticulturist who recently passed away. His name was Richard Smart. And for his
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
PhD thesis, he mapped the soils of Australia and New Zealand to find the perfect soils for Pinot Noir. And it was Central Otago and Tasmania.
Yes.
And so away we went. And I think he's an honorary Kiwi, Richard Smart.
Yes, I had the pleasure of meeting him
Yes.
many
Yes.
years ago. Yes. Um, Also, the vineyard that you use for the Pinot Noir is called Someone's Darling. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah.
No.
So this time around, unlike with Kim Crawford, we own all the vineyards that we use,
Hmm.
and there's some really good reason for that. Firstly, because we farm organically, so you've really got to be precise in the viticulture and the growing. Because if you add something as you're not supposed to, you lose certification for 4 years, and that's quite a bugger.
Oh yeah,
Um,
sure.
and also, you use the same grapes every year, so you can really see the development of vine age, and we're starting to see that particularly with Pinot Gris. You just get a layer of balance in the palate that you don't see, in younger vines, and then of course seasonal variation. If you use the same grapes all the time, you really notice that.
Mm. I just love Pinot Gris, as I said in
I
the
know you do.
introduction.
I think for me it's a grape that gives me such joy, I don't
Yeah.
necessarily want to analyze every glass of wine I drink, and
Mm.
it's just so nice to just sit back and pour that glass of wine, and when you're so tired, and it's Pinot Gris for me.
My favorite bottlings from Alsace are just, I can only describe them as hedonistically pleasurable. They're just
It's a very good phrase, and I'm definitely going to steal that.
good. You may. You may. Yeah, it's just, again, to me, one of the great grape varieties in the world, along with Viognier. Viognier is another favorite.
Yeah, Viognier is something we tried to plant in Marlborough, but it just didn't ripen for us in our cooler vineyards. We are in a cooler valley, and so we really
Mhm.
struggle to ripen that. So that's gone.
And Riesling, we didn't really talk too much about that, but I'd like to touch upon Riesling a little bit. I wish I had one here from Loveblock, but I could not find it. So I was fortunate enough to be able to get the Sauvignon Blanc and the Pinot Noir. But Riesling is, again, one of the world's great grape varieties and produces incredibly diverse styles of wine and also a great deal of complexity when it's
Yeah,
vinified at its best.
incredibly diverse, and it really
Yeah.
shows its place. For us, the Riesling grows at altitude in soils that no one had planted grapes in before, and they're difficult soils, quite a lot of clay. But what it does show us from that particular site at elevation is beautiful minerality. And I've got a super soft spot for Marlborough Riesling, because you know I was discussing it with someone the other day. Like, we can age wine for so long because we have acid,
Hmm. Yes.
and Riesling from there probably best in bottle for about 5 or 6 years, and it does need a little bit of residual sugar because we have so much acid, and the flavors from there are just beautifully citrus fruity, lemon limey, and then this minerality. You do require a little bit of residual sugar, still technically dry. Otherwise, it needs to be in the bottle for about 15 years before it becomes accessible. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. And my favorite Rieslings happen to be sweeter bottlings of Riesling in
Yes.
general, even,
Yes. Yes.
at the Auslese and Beerenauslese and Trockenbeerenauslese levels of German Riesling. But also those produced in Alsace, which I'm very familiar with. When I first started working for Alsace, they were absolutely bone dry wines.
Yes.
And they were very interesting and they worked very well with food. As time went on, they became, I found, a little softer with a little
But
more residual
it
sugar.
does take years,
Yeah.
and we've still
Oh,
got
yeah.
some of them. But we've got some in the library. But so yeah, so for us, there's about 5.4 milligrams per liter of residual sugar, where you stop the fermentation just to make it a bit more accessible,
Yeah. Exactly. You
mm,
have to.
to
You really
balance the
do.
acid. Correct.
And I have mentors in different categories of wine, and my Riesling mentor was a fellow named Peter Sichel. who recently passed away, unfortunately.
I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, one more topic that I wanted to mention briefly, we only have a few minutes left, was the screw cap, which you use, of course, regularly. I have been drinking lots of wines that are under screw cap for a long time, and they seem to work extremely well. And they also allow me to once I open the bottle, put the capsule back and preserve the wine for a longer period of time than would occur with a cork. But my question has always been, and I don't think it's resolvable at this stage, is for long-term aging, not for white wine, but more for red wines. Do screw caps work well? Do we know whether they work well yet for long-term red wine aging? I'm not talking about the red wines that are meant to be drunk young, but wines that are meant to be put away for a number of years.
Yeah, so we've been using screw caps for about 24 years now. In fact, the first wine that went under screw cap in New Zealand was bottled under screw cap was Kim Crawford Riesling. And, we have personally not put red wines away and not made those complexity of red wines yet because the vineyards are too young that can age that long. But I can just quote Chester, from Darrenberg, and he says that it ages, but it's like aging in the refrigerator. So you'll probably, those very complex reds, you'll probably have to put away for twice as long.
Interesting. Because I've been waiting for results from Bordeaux. I know the Bordelais have been experimenting for many years, and I really haven't heard much in the way of definitive answers as to whether their wines, some of the great Bordeaux chateaus, age well under screw cap or not.
Yeah, I mean, the white question of white wines is quite definitive. And, there was a study done in Australia in the 70s, which they looked at it already. But yeah, it's the longevity in red wines and what that does to it that we still don't know because we have to wait until it's been under screw cap for that long.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Erica Crawford, thank you very, very much for this lively discussion and very informative discussion. I always learn a great deal. I've learned a lot listening to you, and I learn a great deal speaking to you in person as well and attending your seminars because you do some fantastic seminars on the subject of Sauvignon Blanc and Pinot Noir and Pinot Gris and Riesling as well. So I hope to attend one of those again one day on your next trip to New York, perhaps. But in the meantime, Godspeed, safe travels, and thank you very, very much for taking the time to participate in our first episode of Icons of Wine. Thank you, Erica.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
At the Cocktail Guru, it's all about the experience. We want our clients to taste and feel the aroma, the temperature, the flavor, to make memories when they try our cocktails. The Cocktail Guru was born in 2006 when there was a need for high-quality cocktails, bartender training, and expertly crafted drinks for special events. Then the Guru team moved to Massachusetts and expanded nationally. We even provide cocktail demonstrations on morning television institutions like the Today Show. Consider the Guru team for all of your events. Corporate clients enjoy our entertaining team-building exercises. Bachelorette mixology classes are fun for everyone. We can craft a signature cocktail bar for any occasion. Plus, the Guru team can design cost-effective beverage programs with staff training for any bar or restaurant. And be sure to join us for the Cocktail Guru podcast, where we regularly interview some of the hospitality industry's best. So why not consider the Cocktail Guru for your next project? Cheers. That's a wrap. If you enjoy what we do, please rate, review, and subscribe to the show and our newsletter. To watch or listen to today's episode or to see the show notes, visit thecocktailgurushow.com. You can also follow us on Facebook, YouTube, X, Instagram, or TikTok. The Cocktail Guru Show is produced by First Reel Entertainment and is available via YouTube, Spotify, Zencaster, Apple, Amazon, EatsDrinksTV.com, Galaxy Global on Comcast, and wherever you enjoy your favorite shows.